So within, I'm just using a demo company here. So um, the new dashboard has got a slightly different layout, but a lot of the same things that were in Xero are still there. So there's a few different ways, Anna, that you can access the director's loan. If it's something you want to check regularly, then sometimes quite a good thing to do is to add it into the chart of accounts watch list. And that means you can always see what it is at any point, um, what the balance is. So, for example, this company, they want to track the sales and the marketing cost. They can see it and they can drill into it at any point. So either I can just click into it, or what I tend to do is maybe right click into it, open a new tab, so I can always, I'm not bouncing back and forward. I've always got this page here. So to add anything, you can add any account to your accounts watch list. I said you can then drill into it, and anything that's kind of blue hyperlinked, you can drill into it and look further. With regards to actually adding an account into there, if I go into accounting and then chart of accounts, and then you can search within there, director's loan. Hopefully there's one director's loan account. So if I click on that, there's these three buttons at the bottom, sorry, and you can click show on that dashboard watch list. So if I click save, it will then, if I refresh this, fingers crossed. That balance is now showing up. Now it's a demo company, so there's no data in there, but you can see that it pulls through. The other thing I would suggest is maybe, which kind of ties in with the bespoke reports, but I'll do this first and then we'll go into bespoke reports, is within reporting, account transactions is one that you can set up, but you can look at that. That'll give you the kind of full detailed analysis. So again, if I type in director's loan, but I said I don't think there'll be anything within this. So let's put sales in. We take the director's loan next. So that will show me everything there. So I can save that as a custom report at the bottom there. So there's a toolbar at the bottom. So I can save that as a custom. So I can call it accounts transactions, sales, current month. And then I can either make it a default for that report or I can save it. When I go into so I go back into reporting all reports, you'll see there's these favorites at the top, which have got a blue star beside them. You can add any report into that. So if I go to the custom toolbar along the top, I can then star that. And what that means is anytime I click on this, again, I might have to refresh. Oh, there you go, accounts transactions, sorry. It now is in the drop down. So I'm not having to go in 3 clicks to find it every time. It's just in that reporting drop down every time. The other option is maybe running the balance sheet report, and that will also have, as I said, there's nothing in here, but it'll show you a snapshot at any date. So again, it's a demo company, so there's not much within it. But if there's a director's loan here, you'll be able to see it from that position there. And so that's probably the other good option for that. That cover that question off? Excellent. So custom reporting, what I'll do is I'll do that in the profit and loss instead, because it's normally the one that kind of is a bit easier. And normally the one that people want to kind of look at in more detail. So the basic profit and loss, sales, cost of sales, gross profit, but there's no gross profit margin in there. And then all the costs are alphabetical. So it's okay, but I don't think it's great. And it's just got the kind of current year. So you can compare it to different periods or different things. So what I'd normally do is compare it with 1 year, or you can compare it with your budget. That might not be again within here because of the the limitations of the demo company. So if I start from this position, at the bottom here, bottom left, there's an edit layout button. So if I click into that, it then brings me to this layout. So I can start to see what's included. Now, obviously, all that's coming through the report is the ones that are actually within, they've got a transaction within it. So it's not showing you anything that's kind of dormant within your chart of accounts. But from within there, I can move things about quite easily. So if I wanted to move bank fees down beside interest, for example, I could do that, just drag and drop it. What I would normally do is if I said, let me think of this, like director's remuneration is a type of wages or employment costs. Employers is also the same, so is pension. So I'm just going down, if I click control on my keyboard, I can then select multiple items. So salaries, I think that's all of them I can remember. So if I click, they're all highlighted. If I then group selection, I can then call that salaries and payroll costs, whatever I want to call it. And then I can move that to where I want it. So you can get the kind of layout similar to what your year-end accounts might look like, and it kind of makes more sense rather than my Xero report says this, why does my account say that? So you can get it more laid out or laid out in a way that maybe you want to share with your managers. You might there be some costs that you want to highlight to them, but then the other ones you just want to kind of general overhead and kind of group other ones together. Depends on what kind of reports you want to send. But we'll just carry on with this. So if I advertising and marketing, let's also put in entertainment within there. Now again, entertainment 0%, 10%, 100% business. The codes sometimes aren't that great, so I would actually go in and change the codes for entertainment within Xero because the default ones aren't always that great. So I would maybe so they're fully deductible. What that normally means is they're actually that's staff entertainment. And then when it's 0%, where it's income tax or not deductible, that's normally client entertainment. So you can change those codes. It won't show up within this page here because I've not refreshed it, but when I run the report, it will. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the staff ones and I'm going to just include those and put that in as advertising and marketing. And then actually that one that I'm saying staff entertainment, what I'm just going to do is add that in here. So I can just drag and drop that within that subcategory once I've set it up. Corporation tax comes in right in the middle of P&L, which I always think's silly. So I'm just going to drag that down to the taxation section. I don't know why I didn't go to the taxation section automatically, but there you go. And then I'll just do a couple more just to kind of, like depreciation's a non-cash item. So I would normally move that down either by setting up another group or I might even move it to kind of this other income area and change the name of that. So I might call that depreciation and move it to debit positive. And then within this formula, I'm actually I'm going to change it to take away depreciation. So it's up to you which way you kind of do it. There's lots of things you can change. So basically anything within it, you can change the formula. What I'm also going to do is a bit of a workaround, but if I want to insert a new row, I can insert a new row. I'm going to insert a formula in this instance. If I move that formula up to gross profit, I can then call that gross profit percentage. I should be able to say gross profit divided by, it's only going to pick up from things above it so only gives you headers of items above, and I should be able to click show as a percentage, and it shows that. But we'll check that when I come out to make sure it's worked all right. And then you can add different months. So for some clients, we actually have a monthly breakdown for the rolling 12 months. So you can add columns in as well and add a different date or maybe a budget or what maybe a good one's a variance. So actually, what's the difference between the 2 years? But not only show me it in pounds, add another one to show me the difference as a percentage as well. So there's a lot of things you can do within here. You can even add text blocks if you want to add some narrative, or you can insert kind of different schedules or put a footer in. But I'd say just getting this basic layout is the first bit to get that kind of sorted and get a report set up that makes sense to you. And then, as I said, there's other things where it's bank fees and that. Let's call that bank charges. And then travel, for example. So there's a few different things. I'm going to put these as well, just rent, rates, heat, line, power, and call that office expenses or premises expenses. So again, you can have the layout however you want. It doesn't have to be the layout that your year-end accounts are. It's whatever makes sense to you. And once I've got those headers as well, I can drag and move them about. So actually, I want to have my premises expenses underneath there. I'm going to move my bank charges down to the bottom. So it's just clicking it, drag and drop, and then you click the update layout button. So that then gives you, turnover, cost of sales, what my gross profit margin is, what my variance was compared to last year, admin costs, got the top header. All I've got is staff entertainment, apparently no employee costs in the demo company. Premises expenses, advertising, marketing. These all come in as individuals. So what you can do as well is you can set up, sometimes I just put, even though it's not a group, I will set up, there's only one cost in it. I might set one for audit and accountancy fees just so that it's got the same header with the same subtotal, because it just then makes it easier for reading. Now, once you've done all that, the important thing is to remember to click the Save As button, because otherwise it will lose it all. So again, Save As, custom, and so I might just call it Profit and Loss Report, year-on-year variance, whatever you want to call it. But again, if I run that report every time, I can click the button to say, okay, make that the default. So this is a report. Every time I run in profit and loss, this is what I see. And so that should be the then default when I click on my reporting tab. It's not got the profit and loss anymore. It's got the profit and loss year on variance as the default one. And again, you can edit it further from within there and change some things. And everything within the report is drillable as well. Did that make sense, Yvonne, or is there anything else you want to?
Can I just ask, so you amended the existing P&L one if you wanted to keep that, but then create another one for just the certain reporting. Is it possible to do that rather than replace?
So if I go into all reports, the profit and loss just now says custom, but the other profit and loss I think should still work together. Maybe not. No, that is making a change. Good question. I think because once I normally set them up, that's the one that we normally run. So yeah, what you might be better to do is, rather than make it the default, is just do what we did earlier. So if I go back into that one and then go, so if I'll make another change just so it's slightly different. So I will group those together. Oh, professional services. So yeah, what might be better is then to save it as custom, but rather make it the default, I can just save it as a custom report. And so within custom reporting, so again, the reporting and then that custom tab, I could just start it and then that would show in that drop down, but it wouldn't necessarily be the default. The original default from Xero would still be there.
Okay.
I'll need to check that one because let me come back to you on that one as well, Paul, because I think I'm not sure if that's just a demo company, because I'm sure when I've run this in other companies, the default one, the normal one from Xero is still there. So whether it's just something in the demo, but let me double check that. Yvonne, did that make sense?
Yeah,
Is there any other questions?
yeah. So see if you go into the standard profit and loss report, because I have access to all my clients' zeros, so I go into their zero to look at their numbers.
Yep.
But the default on the left-hand side when you're in the standard changes by client. How can I introduce new standard reports into the original P&L document? Do you know on the left-hand side?
So, like a standard across all your customers.
Yeah, because they all vary.
Yeah. So I don't think you can do that unless you are like an accountancy practice and you can do it across all. And even then, it's not within Xero itself, it's within what's called Xero HQ that you can set up templates. But what that was going to cover off it as well as if I go to reporting, you might have seen again, it's not in the you might have seen recently Sift Analytics, Xero bought Sift Analytics, and so you'll see that it's effectively trying to create those standard reports across everything, but it pulls the data. If I've gone and changed that profit and loss, and I've said actually, maybe I want to check gross profit. I'm saying wages should be in the cost of sales. So if I change my layout and I just drag and drop that cost up into there, it'll update in that report, but within my chart of accounts, if I search for salaries or my wages, it's that salaries one still in as an overhead. So if I've set up a template report across my whole practice, it doesn't matter if I've set up a standard. If people are using different charts of accounts, it's not going to flow through. So I think it is almost you just have to go into each client and try and create one, unfortunately.
Okay.
Unless you, again, we can sometimes do it because we're a practice and we've got like four different types of Xero. There's like we call it blue Xero because blue Xero at the top. There's a green Xero and there's a grey Xero. And so the grey Xero allows you to kind of change things. But or set up templates. But again, you can set a template up and then you get into the client and it doesn't actually work because the chart of accounts aren't in the correct way. So again, setting up that profit and loss is quite quick and easy. If you're wanting to start to use some of the add-ons like Sift or Fathom or Futurely or like all these things that pull data, in order to get your profit and loss reflected in the right way, if you've moved things about, you have to go to your chart of accounts as well and then change things in here. So you'd call that a direct cost and change that accordingly. Problem is, you've got to be careful with this because I've changed that to direct costs and it automatically assumes direct costs have VAT, but you don't have VAT on wages. So it becomes a bit of a minefield when you start to change all these things about. So it's just, being careful when you're looking at those things. I think, yeah, that's what I'm saying, customized reports, but that's just what we're looking at there. So yeah, I'm not sure if that makes any clearer or not.
Yeah, thank you.
John, with regards to sort of different projects, there's different ways to do it. So there's a projects tab up here, which is a kind of separate add-on into Xero, or part of the Xero. Like it's an extra cost. But what I'll show you first of all is tracking categories, which are included in Xero. So I go into settings. So down in accounting, there's tracking categories that you can set up. So in this one, they've set up by region, east, north, south, west. You can have as many options as you want in here, and you can have 2 tracking categories at any one time. So if I call that job, you could technically like put in every single job number or every single project you're working in, but quite soon that might become clunky. But it depends on how big your projects are and things like that. If you're then, so I go to when I put it, if I create these new categories now, if I go to create a new sales invoice, that's the thing. You can go to sales invoices, or there's some shortcuts there at the top that you can create new straight away, so you don't have to go into sales and drill down. There's a wee shortcut there, which again just saves a bit of time. You'll see that there's now these 2 new tracking categories. So when I put again, another shortcut, you can add items. If something you sell regularly, you can put this in and it pre-populates a lot of it. And you can still overwrite it, so you can still say, put whatever you want in it, but it pre-populates it, or if you want to add anything onto the end. So again, if it's a type of project, it's type of part of work that you do all the time, you might have that, and then at the end you say on this date, rather than retyping out and redoing everything that you do every time. So region, I can choose my region, and then job, I could choose which job it is. So click, again, approve an email. You can change the email templates within Xero as well. So again, that's something that I think a lot of people kind of sometimes download it and then send it on manually. Actually, you can set up email templates within it for all sorts of different things. So I'll maybe cover that in a minute as well.
Stuart, sorry, I'm just distracted by the Apple Pay, Google Pay, Visa. How'd you get that set up? Because mine's just Stripe.
So that is, it might not let me do this in the demo company, but so that's just time for Stripe. I think that's within settings as well.
Yeah, I think it was down there, wasn't it?
So there's the email settings. I'll open that up just so I remember. Online payments there.
Right, okay.
So it looks like it's by Stripe as well, but it's just, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Email settings, I'll just, well, so I've got it open, I may as well look at it. So you can decide who it gets sent from, logged in user, or you can add other ones. So again, if you're maybe sending them from, you've got a bookkeeping or an accounts email address that all the stuff comes through, maybe you that's logged in, you could send it from accounts at Russell & Russell rather than everything, all the replies coming back to me. And then there's 8 standard templates and a custom template, but you can add your own ones as well. So, for example, if I go into the statement, all the stuff in brackets, it pulls through, and you can insert new ones quite easily. So insert placeholder, you can put in, all these things if you need it, but you can change it and make it a bit less basic or a bit less corporate and make it put more kind of your personality into it as well. Again, that saves time rather than retyping the same thing over and over again. So profit and loss, if I put a filter in now, actually what I'll do is I'll edit the layout. So what I'm going to do is delete some of these. And instead, what I'm going to do is have total for 2026, and then I'm going to put a new tracking category in. So I'm going to show east side, north, south, west, and then I would always normally add in an unassigned, just in case. So if you want to track everything and there's sales and unassigned, it means you not get it. It can get lost in the data. The other thing I would maybe put in is a formula just to double check. So I would say 2026 minus east side minus north minus south minus west minus unassigned, and that should always come back to 0. So it's again just the sense check column for me to make sure that it's everything's pulling through correctly. So if I update the layout now, I can then see where my sales are. But you can see there's 15 grand of sales that's unassigned. So you might go, West Coast doing amazing, why is everyone else doing crap? But actually, there's 15 grand of sales that need to be assigned to east side or the north or wherever it might be. And then you can start to assign your costs. So again, there might be some direct salary costs to each of those, but then there might be unassigned. You might, sometimes what I may change that to is or set up a new code called head office costs. So there might be like things that you can't assign, where the time to portion out, you might go, actually, there's the rent, there's accounting fees, there's whatever there might be, is a head office cost that's always going to be incurred, but I can't necessarily sign it across. And then you can see the profit, there's also a profit center for each one, and that's the profits from each center should cover the costs elsewhere. So as you can see, John, that might get quite complex. You've got lots and lots of jobs ongoing at one time. So tracking might not work for that on a project basis. But the projects tab can be quite good. The projects within Xero is quite simplistic. So it's sometimes a good place to start, but you might then quickly go, actually, we need add-ons. And again, with Xero, one of the benefits is the number of apps that there are that plug into it. So there's a whole host of other project ones that you can then look at and see. And there's an app, open the Xero App Store, just to give you an. It's one of those ones that's like, it's almost a job in itself if you're to keep on top of all these. I can't remember if it says how many there are. It used to say how many there were. But yeah, as you can see, there's a few. But invoicing and jobs, there's a few different things within there. I'm trying to think if there's ones. I'll maybe get a call afterwards, John, as well, just if there's anything particular looking for, because there's some apps we have looked at for other people that might be able to assist. But within Xero projects itself, basically you can set up a new project quite easily. If I go into Abbey and Wells tax compliance, you can set up a different task and set up a budget for it and how much time, and then it shows you 10 hours estimated, how much time we spent on it so far. So we're spending 10 hours at £200 an hour. We spent 2 hours, so we're £408. So it shows us how far we are through our budget. And then you can see kind of where you are. You can also assign expenses or bills. So again, if I go in against it, put something in. So again, a wee shortcut there. You can do plus 15 or plus 30, and it'll work out how many days. But you can also set up defaults within that as well, so that customers can have certain defaults. So again, I'll assign a job, but in this case, down here is assign expenses to a customer or a project. So I want to put that. Oh, sorry, I have to tick the button. Select Wells, was it? Wells. Okay, sign that first and then click OK. So then when I go into this project, refresh that. Always brilliant when that doesn't work in an example. Oh, I've not approved it yet. There you go. So I've jumped ahead. So then it says billable expense to Abby Wells. Approve the invoice. So it's actually in the system. And then if I refresh this, fingers crossed it should work this time. No. There's Abby and Wells. Not sure what's happening there, John. I will work out. I'll send you a demo of something within like our Russell and Russell one, and then you can send you one once it's. But yeah, it should pull through. Again, sometimes in the demo companies, they never used to have projects within the demo company. So whether it's something with that, it's just not joining up. But we have had clients who've used it and it works quite well. The other thing you can do, even with if I was to create a new bill. Again, just put easy furniture. But if I assign that to a customer, if I was to put it to media group, and assign that. So that's an expense I've incurred on behalf of my customer. When I now go to invoice Rex, again, fingers crossed this should work, we'll see. It's come up with add bill expenses. So I can then add that bill as an item to be recharged. So quite often we'll incur expenses for customers or clients, especially professional services firms or certain projects, and then it won't. You'll be like, oh, I need to catch up, and it'll get lost somewhere, and you don't actually recharge it onto them. So that is quite a good way to when you put it in, if it's for a specific customer, you're then not losing out on that. And again, what we sometimes might do is put that to the cost to a rechargeable expenses code, the sale to a recharged expenses code, and check that we're actually at least covering ourselves on those costs within the reporting. Within the projects, you can add time within here as well. So kind of timesheets within that, you can invoice directly once you get to it. You can see what you've quoted, and then it should show you profitability, what you've invoiced and what your costs were, assuming your costs pull through, as I said earlier. But again, this is quite a simplistic projects tool, but sometimes it works for lots of our clients. Other ones where it's a bit more moving parts. They need something else, and we've done that a couple of times with other customers. So I could give you some names of some of the tools we've worked with for them.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. It's kind of ours isn't billable from kind of our purchases because we've got a bill of quantities in place, so it's
Yep.
labour material, and then it's as per its completion. So
Yes.
when we invoice it, it's elements of work that have been carried out rather than anything that's been put through Xero, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to tie those
We've got a
elements back.
couple where it's like companies that do repair work for insurance companies, and so they track their costs within one bit of software. It still comes into Xero for the purchase profit and loss, but it gets assigned because there's so many jobs going on at one time. They assign it to the projects within that, and then that's how they track it. So the name escapes me at the moment, but I'll find out what it is and send it on. There was a bit of a workaround from what I remember because the way they were using Dext as well for processing their purchase invoices. But yeah, I'll send that on. Anything else anyone has any questions about? I think it's one of those things, Xero, like there's so many, even just going on the toolbar and having a look and playing about with some of the tips and hints. There's lots of shortcuts that we're probably not utilizing on a day-to-day basis. So even like getting the email set up, if I go to contacts, there's smart lists within there, which show me anything that's overdue, show us anyone that's who's not bought something from us in the last year. Is it worth keeping them on as a customer on that list, or do we kind of archive them, or should we be in touch with them because they've not actually they used to buy from us every month and they've not bought from us in the last however long? So there's lots of things that we kind of just don't utilize. I think the other one that was bank rules. So within the bank account, Xero have introduced Jax, Just Ask Xero, which we've not found to be brilliant, to be honest. Feels like they just rushed it out and stuck it on. But they've had AI for ages with regards to bank rules and things like that. So you can set up rules in order that when it comes to processing the bank, for example, that's 7-Eleven. If you go into the bank statement, then it's got 7-Eleven in the title. It applies a rule, and you can put that in. So you can set up rules for lots of recurring things like potentially wages or things that haven't got bank charges, pension payments, things that don't have VAT in them or don't need an invoice, which is just recurring monthly amounts going out. It's quite easy to set up rules, and again, transfers between accounts is a big one. The other thing that you can do from within there is cash coding. So if you get a backlog, you go on holiday or something like that, and there's a backlog of stuff, you can actually, okay, there's all those central parking ones. Rather than code up every single one, I can just put that to travel. Probably no VAT in it, but I'll leave it as 20%. And then I can just click Save and Reconciled, and it clears those 5 transactions off straight away. The other thing with that is, let's say, for example, I put that to travel national. It's like, it should have been travel international, which it wouldn't have been. But just an example, if I go to find and recode within accounting, and then add a condition. In this case, I know it's put something to travel that I want to put somewhere else. I can choose those transactions that I've just put in, and I can recode them elsewhere. Or actually, there shouldn't be VAT in that. So there's no VAT on the parking. So let's change it to no VAT. And actually, I'm going to change the account code to travel international because it's when we're away visiting a client. That then changes all those transactions with a couple of clicks. Whereas in the past, what you'd have to do is go in option, edit transaction, change that, change the VAT code, and then save it. So again, that's quite a good time saver. But yeah, I'd say it's just kind of having a look, going through if there's anything on there that you've never looked at, just click into it, have a look at the tips and tricks. We were away at one you'll probably talk about seating mattress floors over in Ireland at a lean factory, and lean's a lot about making things more efficient and saving time. And it's easy in a factory setting, but in the back office, they had kind of types of waste, and one of the waste was underutilization of software. And there's plenty of things I'm sure that we use every day where it's like, actually, there must be a better way to do this, or there must be a quicker way. And there's lots of things within Xero, I think, that is the same. Even some of the add-ons and things like that. The other thing, even just like searching for stuff. If we said try to search for a transaction, again, it's not in the demo company, but you could search by amount. So if I searched for £411.35, it would come up with that. If I search for Gateway Motors, it would show me all the transactions Gateway Motors. So I know I've paid such and such. I paid this amount. I can't remember when. Then that's you can search within that. And my last thing that I would say is, it doesn't happen very often, but I would just always check that bank balance to this statement balance, because occasionally the bank will change something at their end, and we've had 2 days come through, or a day come through twice, or maybe a day gets missed while the bank's changing something at their end. Because Xero works on the kind of open banking principle, where Xero is effectively a bank and is pulling the data through on a daily basis from the bank account. But that doesn't mean it doesn't always go right. Online purchases versus normal.
Sorry, just on the purchases tab, when you're posting bills and online bill payments, what's the kind of difference between that and, say, HubDoc, for example?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think it might be if you're wanting to make payments to bills. Yeah. So again, talking about efficiencies, like you have Xero open, and then you go, right, open my bank account, another page, and you type this stuff over and go, I'm paying this supplier this amount, this potential issues with errors, like mistyping stuff. You can actually pay bills directly from Xero. So if you go to bills to pay, you can select ones that are waiting payment. So go to make payment might be easier. You can, rather than, I'm going to pay this and typing it, having another screen open with the bank and going through that list, you can select all of them and make a payment. So there's different ways to do it. This kind of creates payment within Xero, but the online payment, when you got it set up, it can actually take you into a portal and you can make payments directly. It kind of links to your bank. But even with that one, if you've got it set up in Xero, like, I don't know how your suppliers, but our suppliers, when we make a payment, because we make them as a bulk, because we're on Bankline, it comes through as a lump sum, so it doesn't come through individually. So if that payment totaled 20,000, it wouldn't come through as individual lines. It would just come as 10,048. It would come through our bank just as one line saying supplier payment 10,048. So what we can do is we can say, okay, that was all paid from that bank account. I can just mark it as paid. You can create a payment file, which you can sometimes import directly into your banking software, depending what the software is like, and create a batch file. But again, this shows up how many customers are actually missing their sort codes. We've not got it in Xero. So again, if you're wanting to have all your records up to date, it's getting that kind of up to date. But if I just said mark as paid and create a payment, it would effectively mark all those bills as paid, and then when the money hits the bank, it would then just mark off against all those as one would have an outstanding payment. But you can actually, the online bill payments actually pay directly from Xero as well. If there's anything else on those purchases. The only thing I was going to say actually on that was suppliers, or sorry, customers within the financial, so go to Bayside Club, go to financial details. See if I edit it, sorry. You can see, you can set up defaults again for the accounts, but there's no credit limit there. So if they had a credit limit of £2,500 and then save and close, it would then show me that they're over their limit. And if I went to create a new invoice to them, they're over the limit. You're not able to send this invoice. So again, that can be quite good. Whereas, often businesses will just carry on trading with someone when actually, someone said actually we should put a block on that. So again, those kind of things can help as well. Excellent. Well, if there's no other questions, I will leave it there. But yeah, I'll send on some stuff afterwards. I'll send on a copy of the recording as well, and then yeah, if anyone has a question to come up with afterwards, just feel free to email me, and I will come back to you. It might be later next week. It's half term next week, so I'm off at the start of the week. But yeah, thank you very much for joining and for all your input.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Very useful.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you. Cheers.